Order. Questions to the Prime Minister.
But can I reassure my honourable friend that we have confirmed that when we bring forward the vote on the final deal, we'll ensure that Parliament is presented with the appropriate analysis to make an informed decision. Now, with negotiations ongoing, it would not be practical or sensible to set out the details of exactly how the government will analyse the final deal, but we will set out our assumptions and methodology when we present this analysis to Parliament and the public.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given the Prime Minister did not once mention Chequers, either in her conference speech or in her statement to Parliament on Monday, does this mean the Chequers plan is now dead?
Can I first of all say to the right honourable gentleman that I join him, and I'm sure the whole House joins him, in expressing our sincere condolences to the family of Baroness Hollis. She was an outstanding parliamentarian, and I'm sure members from all sides of the House will remember how she was a dedicated champion for the poorest and most disadvantaged in our society. He asked me if the Chequers plan was dead. The answer is no.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that's most interesting because the International Development Secretary and the Work and Pension Secretary have both refused to say that they back the Chequers plan. Maybe she could share a pizza with them and see if that can sort it out. Could the Prime Minister confirm the Treasury legal advice given to Cabinet that in the event of no deal, the government would still have to pay the EU a divorce bill of £30 billion?
Can I say to the right honourable gentleman, we've been very clear throughout the negotiations in relation to the financial settlement that led to the figure of around £39 billion that appeared following the December joint report, that this is a country that honours its legal obligations, and we will do exactly that. But I would also remind members of this House that we have been very clear, as have the EU, that nothing is agreed until everything is agreed.
Corbyn.
Last week, Mr. Speaker, 63 Conservative MPs wrote to the Chancellor to complain that Treasury forecasts based on Brexit negotiations are too negative. I'm just waiting to write to say that legal advice is too negative as well. In December, the Prime Minister signed an agreement. In December, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister signed an agreement with the EU which stated, and I quote, "In the absence of agreed solutions, the United Kingdom will maintain full alignment with those rules of the internal market and the customs union." Will she confirm that this agreement still stands and that she signed up to it without any time limit?
Can I say to the right honourable gentleman that if he reads the December joint report, he will see very clearly that the first way of dealing with the issue of the border in Northern Ireland, between Northern Ireland and Ireland, is through the future relationship. As I said to this House on Monday, we have made good progress on the aspects of the future relationship, including a number of aspects based on the plan that we had put forward in July. We then said that there could be some Northern Ireland-specific solutions. There are already Northern Ireland-specific arrangements that take place, and that failing that, we would look at those UK-wide solutions. We were clear then, and we are clear now. The purpose of the backstop is to bridge the gap between the end of the implementation period and ensuring that the future relationship is in place. And as we have said, I expect the future relationship and intend to work for the future relationship to be in place by the 1st of January 2021.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Mr. Speaker, my question was that she signed an agreement that had no time limits attached to it. Does she stand by that or not? Mr. Speaker,
we don't need heckling from either side. It's not in keeping with good order and demonstrations of respect from whichever side it hails. Jeremy Corbyn.
Speaker, it's very strange the way a member every week hides behind the gallery there in order to shout and hurl abuse. Mr. Speaker, the car industry
Order. I know I say it every week, say it again. The questions will be heard and the answers will be heard. That is the situation. Jeremy Corbyn.
Speaker, the car industry is clear that it needs a new customs union in order to secure investment in British manufacturing. Vauxhall recently said they would continue to invest, but there are limits. Those limits are customs barriers. Jobs are at risk. Why won't the Prime Minister back a customs union supported not only by Labour and trade unions but by businesses and, I suspect, a majority in this House to protect those jobs?
Can I say to the right honourable gentleman what the automotive industry and indeed other industries such as aerospace have said is that they want to see frictionless trade across the borders. Frictionless trade across our borders is exactly what lies at the heart of the free trade deal that is proposed in the government's plan put forward after the Chequers meeting in July. That's what we are working to deliver for people in this country. We want to deliver a Brexit that delivers on the vote of the British people and that ensures we protect jobs and security. And what would Labour deliver? They're havering around, they think free movement could still continue. That won't deliver on the vote of the British people. They now want a second referendum to go back to the British people and say, oh, we're terribly sorry, we think you got it wrong. There will be no second referendum. The people voted and this government will deliver on it.
Mr. Speaker, my question was about investment in British industry. Jaguar Land Rover is holding off investment until it knows the terms of a deal. Jobs are at risk and manufacturers and skilled workers have little confidence in this government because it cannot even agree amongst itself. Last week, the Public Accounts Committee reported that the Department of Health could not assure us of its plan to safeguard the supply of medicines after the UK has exited the European Union. Does the Prime Minister dispute their assessment?
The Department of Health is working. I think the right honourable gentleman was talking about the position in relation to a no-deal situation. The Department of Health is working, as are other government departments, to ensure that we have the plans in place, should it be the case that we end up in the position that we have no deal with the European Union. We continue to work for a good deal with the European Union, as I say, a deal that delivers on the Brexit vote, but also a deal that protects jobs and livelihoods, and crucially, that protects the precious union of the United Kingdom.
Jeremy Corbyn.
The BMA said the NHS is woefully unprepared for this. And this week, the pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca has suspended investments in Britain due to lack of clarity over the future. Mr. Speaker, the Conservative Party has spent 2 years arguing with itself instead of negotiating a deal in the public interest. And now, just days before the deadline, they're still bickering amongst themselves. The Prime Minister and her government are too weak and too divided to protect people's jobs, our economy, or ensure there is no hard border in Northern Ireland. So,
Order. Members are a little overexcitable. Just calm down. Jeremy Corbyn.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister and her government are clearly too weak and too divided to protect people's jobs or our economy or ensure there is no hard border in Northern Ireland. So the Prime Minister has a choice. She can continue to put the Tory party's interests first, or she could listen to unions, businesses, and put the interests of the people of Britain first. Which is it to be?
The right honourable gentleman has spoken in a number of his questions about protecting jobs. I note that he has said nothing about the unemployment figures that came out this week. Let me tell him overall what this government is delivering for the people of this country. Scrapping the council's borrowing cap so they can build more homes for people. An end to austerity so people's hard work pays off. Freezing fuel duty for a 9th year so there's more money in people's pockets. Unemployment lower than for the last 40 years. Youth unemployment halved under this government, and wages rising faster than they have done for a decade. Labour can play politics, the Conservatives deliver for the people of this country.
I'll get that little piece of dandruff.